Republican Senator Ted Cruz has a very interesting sales pitch for the voters in the state of Texas. And that sales pitch is essentially, vote for me so that you can kick me out of office in the future. Ted Cruz is right now fundraising for his third Senate campaign on the idea that we need term limits for members of Congress. Back in January, Ted Cruz introduced basically a constitutional amendment that would limit members of the Senate to 2 terms, no more than 12 years, and members of the House would be able to serve 6 years or 3 terms in office. I support this. 100%. The one thing I am in full agreement on with Ted Cruz is term limits for the House and Senate. And I think kind of based on some of the news that's come out this week, I think that's a fairly smart thing to support. We shouldn't have people in Congress that have been there since Kurt Cobain just formed Nirvana, right? I mean, that's a little too long that you've been there, folks. Maybe it's time to go away. But it's an interesting sales pitch, isn't it? Cruz, in an email to supporters, wrote this: "It's finally time we do something about the entrenched politicians in Washington. I want to know what you think about my constitutional amendment to impose term limits on senators and House members." While also saying, give me money so that I can serve a 3rd term, which under my new law would actually be illegal for me to do. But Cruz has a built-in, safety switch in his legislation here, his constitutional amendment. And the safety switch is that the term limits only apply after it gets passed. So you don't get credit for time served. So if Ted Cruz were successful with this, his 3rd term would technically become his 1st term, and he could still run again. So he could still be one of those so-called entrenched politicians that he claims to hate so much. It's just a weird, wacky thing. Again, Ted, I support you on this, but you got to take that safety switch out. You can say, listen, if you're in the Senate and you still have 4 years on your term, that actually counts as your term. You don't get to run again. If you're in the House, you get 1 more election after this and then you're term limited. That's it. That's what it should be. Don't say that, okay, term limits start now and then from here on, no. Be like, listen, your current term counts. You can get 1 more after this. That's what you should do. I mean, honestly, you should be like, term limits are effective immediately. If you've served your time, you get the hell out. We're going to have a hell of a lot more elections coming up in the future. That's what should happen. But we have career politicians in Washington, D.C. on both sides. 100%. You can't deny that we got some Democrats that have been there way too long and have forgotten how to connect with average American people. They work for special interests in Washington, D.C. That's what happens when people stay there for a bit too long. That's what happens to most people. I think we know an obvious exception to that rule. But for the most part, these folks forgot what it's like to be a normal person long ago. Many of them never knew what it was like to be a normal person. And the longer they stay there, the more disconnected from America they actually get. That's why we need these term limits. We need fresh people. We need fresh ideas. And we also don't need people who have no idea where they are, because that is also a problem. I support Ted Cruz's term limits. I don't support the way he's fundraising off of it. I don't support that he's going to let everybody start from scratch if he passes it. But I guess the theory of term limits is something Ted Cruz and I somehow actually agree on. Ring of Fire has fresh content 7 days a week, so if you want to be reminded about it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to be notified every time a new video goes up.